Okay, well, welcome to our employment planning workshop class. This is day number what? 7. Because we started last week. But you might have seen me write date 3 on there somewhere. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the interview process. The interview process is what gets you the job. So earlier, before we went live, we were going around the class, talking to people, asking people what they remember from yesterday in the interview. And one student, Mike, why don't you just say hi, Mike?
Hi.
Okay. Mike said something that a lot of people believe, which is why I want to talk about it. And that was the belief that the resume gets you the job. The resume does not get you the job. The resume gets you the interview. You don't get to the interview without a perfect resume, but the resume doesn't get you the job. So let's talk about that for a second. Why not? Now that you know it doesn't get you the job, Mike, why not? This is like law school. They just keep pounding on you.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's pretend that it did. Let's pretend the resume got you the job. What would everybody need to do to get the job?
Put a resume.
Huh?
Put a resume.
Well, there's going to be 400 resumes. What would you need to do to get the job if the resume got you the job? Just have the best resume, right? Okay. Well, who would you have do your resume if you wanted the best resume? An amateur resume writer or a professional resume writer, right? Okay. So you'd want to have a professional. Hello, California.
Hi.
Glad to see you finally got the system working again.
You've been missing.
We'll blame the internet. We'll blame Google.
Okay.
What our students do. It's Google's fault. Okay, so we're talking about employment planning today. We're talking about the interview process, but we're doing a little bit of review regarding the resume. And the question asked was, what do you remember from yesterday? And one of the thoughts was the resume gets you the job. And it doesn't get you the job. Because if the resume got you the job, what everybody would do would be to have a professional resume person write the resume for them, right? But then who would the interviewer be hiring?
The person who wrote the resume.
The person who wrote the resume. But is that the person who's actually applying for the job? No. So you have to be very careful, and I stress you to not cut corners by having a professional resume writing person write your resume. Here's another reason why. Let's pretend this is a resume. I'm interviewing you. I say, Laretha, tell me about what's the last job you had? Okay, housekeeping where?
At the MGM.
Okay, and let's say you had somebody write your resume for you. Okay, really professional. You're really proud of it because it made you look really good, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I say, tell me about this housekeeping position at the MGM. And I'm doing like this with my finger. I'm pointing to it. So you see I'm reading from your resume, right?
Right.
Tell me about your housekeeping position at the MGM.
Well, I was doing maid work and cleaning the rooms.
Okay, so starting out, do you think you're going to try to picture what the resume says, or are you going to talk about what you did?
I'm gonna. Good job.
Because you didn't write this.
No.
Somebody else wrote it. You just read it.
So I'm probably gonna read it before I even.
Okay, let's say you're going to read it, and I say, tell me about your job at housekeeping at the MGM.
I don't know.
Tell me about it.
I just was telling you.
Okay,
about
tell me again. See, she's arguing with the interviewer. That's a sure way to get the job. Okay, proceed.
Well, I was working at the MGM housekeeping, and I was cleaning rooms, and dusting and making beds and cleaning bathrooms.
Okay, now that's not what this says right here.
Okay.
Now what?
That's it.
That's a trick that they'll play to see if you wrote the resume. They just want to see what how you're gonna react. How do you think people who didn't write their resume are gonna react?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Deer in headlights, right? What do I do now? I just got busted. Okay? Now let's say you did write it. You absolutely wrote your resume. And I said, well, that's not what this says right here. What do you think your response is going to be? If you did write it and you think the person's wrong,
You're gonna tell them what, that's what you
you're
did.
going to politely say, excuse me, what do you mean? Because I think that's what it does say. Right? And that's what they want you to say. Because they're just trying to trick you to see if you wrote the resume. Because you think if they walked in and the first interviewing question was, okay, Laretha, did you write this? How many people who didn't write it are going to say, no, I didn't write it?
Not too many.
Most people are going to say, if I say no, I'm not going to get the job, so I might as well say yes because I have nothing to lose. Right? Okay, the purpose of the interview is to figure out, are you the person whose resume I like? That's the fundamental purpose. I like this resume. Is that really you? Now, I know that you might be lying to me because everybody lies. A little, at least. Okay? At some things, not necessarily this. But I'm expecting people are not telling me the truth because if I think somebody's telling me the truth and they lied to me, who's the fool? That's what most people think, right? And most people in that position are hired because they're able to figure out, is this person telling the truth or not? Would anybody be in an interview process if they believed what everybody said was true? You owned a company, you had somebody doing HR interviewing, would you say, I'm going to put the person who is the most trusting person in that position of interviewing? Would you? No. You put somebody who is more like a police officer, right, or a detective in that position. Where no matter what you say, they don't disbelieve you, they don't believe you. They're trying to find out what is true. So the resume doesn't get you the job, it gets you the interview. And if it's not perfect, what's that noise? Okay. So it doesn't get you the interview, it gets you the interview. And you've got 7 seconds when they look at it. Just imagine there's 7 seconds for them to decide, is this somebody who I might be interested in interview? Okay, now I'm not saying, I want to be very clear, I'm not saying they're going to interview you based upon 7 seconds. They're not going to do that because they're going to have the bucket of yes, no, maybe. You want to get in the yes bucket because you want them to read your resume. Because those are the people they're going to look at interview first. And then if they get enough, if they say, well, we want to interview 10 people, there's 400 resumes, maybe the yes bucket gets down to yes, meaning not yes, I want to interview, but yes, I want to read the resume. Yeah, I'm going to read these 20 resumes because they look good. And in the 7 seconds that I had to scan it, I saw a couple keywords in there. And so I'm going to put it in the yes bucket. Well, when they go to the 20 that are in the yes bucket, then they're going to read them. So that's where the resume has to be. Now it has to be not just good, it has to be what they call in law school on point. It has to be what they're looking for. That's why when you do the research, you need to research the people you're sending your resume to, and in the about part or different parts somewhere on their website, they tell you why they do what they do. Not just what they do, but why. You should remember from the TED Talk, Simon Sinek, people don't buy what? People don't buy what? What you do, they buy why you do it. Okay? So if you can find, and it shouldn't be hard to find because the businesses that you're going to try to work for want you to know why they do what they do. Not just what they do, but why they do what they do. And you need to find those words and add them to your resume. So if you have a perfect looking resume, and you have the words in it, the key words that they're looking for in it, do you think you have a good chance of getting interviewed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Why would you not get interviewed at this point? Okay, so there was 10 people whose resumes were better. Okay, and it might be things that you cannot control right now. For example, there could be 10 people that had a lot more experience. And they said, well, you know what, this person's good, I like what they say, I'd like to look at their resume, but they don't have any experience doing this. So what do you do now if you don't get the interview and your resume is perfect?
Keep on looking.
You go home and you drink Clorox. You don't give up. Okay, that's what you do, is you don't give up. You just chalk it up to, I did the best I could, right? They weren't ready to hire me yet. Probably needed more experience. That was a good job. It's a good employer. They're not going to have a lot of unexperienced people applying. Doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. Don't talk yourself out of applying. But on the other hand, don't apply to too many positions because you don't want to get in the trap of, well, you don't want to work for us, you just want a job. Okay, so the resume doesn't get you the job, it gets you in the door. Everybody needs to really get that. But the resume has to be perfect in order to get in the door, and we have enough time here to work on it. So in the afternoons, if you need to be practicing your Google Docs, or in California, if you're practicing Word, this is the time to make sure your resume is perfect, share it with other people, let them look at it, look for errors. You read other people's, and it will help you come up with ideas for yours, because maybe they worded it better. Maybe they have some wording in there that is grammatically correct, but maybe there's too many negatives in it. You know, I don't not want to not get this job. I don't know what that means. Okay, but people need to be able to understand it. So do that. I would have a link. I strongly urge you, if you're talking about the cloud, you should have a link to your community. If one of your skills is that you know the Google Cloud, and I would list the apps, starting with not the obvious ones first, but the other ones first, where they might say, oh, what's that? You know, I wouldn't start with Gmail or Calendar. I'd probably start with Drive, maybe include forms in there. You know, just things that they're going to say, huh, what's that? They remember it. But if you have if you mention, and you should mention, one of your skills is Google Cloud, you should put the link in there to your community. Now I'm going to take a little segue for a second, because there is an extension that everybody should have. And that is called Google Shortener. So everybody should go to the Google Shortener app. So in your Omnibox, type in Google Shortener. It gives you some choices. Click on the one that says app. And Dennis, you can see my screen, right?
Correct.
Okay. So is it large enough? Google Shortener app. And then you click on it.
You got that.
And then you add it to Chrome. Oh, this is not the right one. Oops.
Yes, not
Not GOO. I chose the wrong one. They tricked me. It's the one that's by Google. Okay. So with the one you choose, make sure it is written by Google, not by someone else. See this one here, the first one, goo.gl shortener, is not by Google. So I don't want to take more time, but just make sure it's the Google shortener, not somebody that's making a shortener for Google. Okay. So you want to take your community and you want to run it through the Google shortener. It's a very easy thing to do. We can work on that this afternoon. Don't want to get sidetracked because we have less than 30 minutes on the interview process. Okay, so it looks like everybody's still looking for the Google shortener. Okay. You can do that later. So press your urge to not pay attention to the important things. So I strongly advise you to have a link to your community there, because this will set you apart from other people. But if you might not send in an electronic resume, or they might print it, they might prefer to print it. And if you have a very long document name, they're going to be resistant to typing it in because of making a mistake. If you use Google shortener, it reduces that file name to maybe 10 or 12 characters. So it's very easy for people to use. The other thing is pictures of yourself. Should you put your picture on your resume? If you're concerned about your looks, I advise you to do it. What are you doing, Stephanie? Oh, okay. I thought you were playing Count Dracula. So if you're concerned about your looks, I would suggest you to put your picture on your resume. Nobody here is not going to get employed in a position because of their looks. You shouldn't be concerned about it, but a lot of people are. A lot of people are very concerned. If you go into the interview and you're spending part of your brain process thinking of, what do they think about my looks? What are you not able to do? Yeah, you're not able to focus on the interview. So if you send them a picture of yourself, and you have 3 teeth and 1 eye in the middle of your forehead, and they interview you, guess what you don't have to worry about? Your looks. I promise you, you'll feel a lot better going into the interview if they've already seen a picture of you. Okay, why? Why, Mike? If they've already seen a picture of you, and they decide they're going to interview you anyway.
It's for the job.
Well, because they don't care about your looks. Okay? Okay, now let's say you did have 3 teeth and 1 eye in the middle of your forehead, and they didn't know that. And you walked in, do you think that their attention would be focused on your looks?
Yeah.
Right. Okay? But if you give them a pre-warning, hey, I have 3 teeth and 1 eye in the middle of my forehead, and they still interview you, guess who's not going to be surprised? They aren't going to be surprised. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't want to do that because they think if they know what I look like, they won't hire me. So why would you want to have that anxiety going into the interview? Why would you, before you walk in the door, be thinking, well, once they see what I look like, they're not going to hire me? I wouldn't want to be thinking about that. I wouldn't want to waste my time driving to a place that I thought wouldn't hire me because of my looks. I'd say, hey, let's get this over with before the meeting. By the way, my name is Shrek. Okay? They call me Shrek. So I would do that. Now, other people in the past have also been very concerned about putting their address on the top of their resume. Okay, what does that mean to somebody who's suspicious? If they see you don't have your address, what does that mean to somebody who's a suspicious interviewer?
Trying to hide something.
Yeah, why doesn't this person want it? When we would have these discussions in the past with students, it would be, well, I don't want, privacy issues. I don't want anybody knowing where I live. Why? Because I'm secretive. I don't want people to know. Well, do you want the job? Do you think that if they're going to hire you and say, well, we need you to fill out this paperwork, and you say, well, I'm not going to put down my address, are they going to hire you?
Nope.
I don't think they legally can. I don't think you can submit this paperwork because the employer has to be able to send W-2 forms and tax stuff, and they have stuff to do too, and it doesn't really work if you don't know where your employees live. But it could just be a condition for hire. So why start out not good? Why start out on the wrong foot? If you really want the job, and you really should want it because you researched it, you decide this is a place I want to work. I want to work there. And from yesterday, just a review for California, one of the things we said is the level of research you should do, you should strive to know more about that company than the interviewer knows about the company. Because when he says, why do you want to work here, or something like that, or she, why do you want to work here, you can answer with why you really want to work there. And the example we talked about yesterday was what? What was the example I used yesterday?
McDonald's.
McDonald's, right. Okay, McDonald's. And the guy said, well, why do you want to work here? If he said to me, why do you want to work here? You have a law degree, you went to a good university, why do you want to work in McDonald's? What's up? So I have to have a good answer, right? Because at the interview, they're deciding, do they like me? Do they trust me? I'm in the interview because they think I have the qualifications. But, and this goes for anybody who's overqualified for a position you're applying to. Why do you want to work here? And the answer I gave was what? Yeah, the answer I gave was, I remember the very first time I went to McDonald's as a little kid. I loved it then, and I remember saying to myself, one day I'm going to own a McDonald's. And I know I have to start at the bottom. Nobody's going to hire me to be president of McDonald's, or regional manager, or general manager of a store, or night manager of a store, or anything if I haven't learned the business. So I want to own a McDonald's, and I'm just going to start at the bottom. If I say it in a persuasive way, what should happen? I get the job because I'm way better than anybody else, right? Okay, now what if I say, well, I remember the very first time I went to McDonald's when I was a little kid, and yeah, at that time I decided I wanted to own one. Is that believable?
No.
No. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, because fundamentally the interviewer is trying to decide, are you telling the truth? Are you the person on your resume? Do you fit into our culture? How do you know what their culture is? You do your research. So what is the Zappos culture? Not weirdos. No, not weirdo. Not, you weren't here yesterday, but David Logan said it in his TED Talk. At Zappos, they want you to do what? To what? Be a little bit weird. A little bit weird. They want people who are a little bit weird. And he said, and they are. How they clap for us when we come up here, they don't know who we are, and if they did, they wouldn't care anyway. Okay? So, the interview fundamentally is, are you the person on the resume? Because we like this resume. If you're that person, now do we like you? Let's say they like you, but you're not the person on the resume. Now what? You got some explaining to do, right? How did you get in here? Because you're not this person. We're interviewing this guy. You're not this guy. I like you, but I need to understand.
Now I got to find out.
Okay, not a good strategy.
Right.
Not a good strategy to have to do that. Because if you're likable, if they're going to like you, why do you want to be in a position where you question of whether they should hire you? So what do you say? What would you say, Marty? You know, Marty, we really like you, but this isn't you. Silence. Wait for Marty to speak.
That's a hard position to be in.
Well, think about it. You think they're going to give you the list of the questions they're going to ask you? You think this is pressure? No.
I would never want to put myself in that.
Well, let's say you did. Let's say they just said, you're not this person. We like you, but you're not this person. Let's say it was a test.
Okay.
I think I am this person.
I think
What about that?
is that the,
If they're testing you, they just want to see how you respond.
is that the right impression to go? Is that are you mentally unstable? If you think you're somebody, I was stupid.
What do you mean? What do you, I don't understand.
Well, if you think you're somebody, you're like, but
They think that somebody else wrote the resume.
okay.
They don't think you have the qualities that you wrote on your resume. They like you. No. I think I am that person.
I think I have.
Okay, see, he's saying it like he doesn't even believe it. They have to believe you.
Okay.
If you don't believe yourself, are they going to believe you? Probably not. Yes, Dave.
Isn't this topic a concern for other job training schools where they teach you to, in a sense, lie, get the job?
Well, you know, other people do other things. I think if you are honest and you are, you know, as we're doing this week, stoical, you do the right thing at the right time in the right way, that in the long run you're going to be okay. I don't think it's good to start off on a lie. I think if you have a good reason for something, then people will accept it. Yes, I did kill the guy because he broke into the house and he was going to kill me. Okay? Did I do the right thing? Maybe. Right? But it sounds a lot better than, yeah, I killed the guy. Or no, I didn't really kill him. The gun killed me. It wasn't me, it was the bullet. Okay? That's not a good answer. So you have to be prepared. You have to expect that they're going to be asking you trick questions. So another thing too of, well, we like you, but we don't think this is you. I think it is me. Well, there's some discrepancies in what you have, what's written here and what you've said. You know, here you've already failed because somebody else has written your resume, and that's the thing you should not do. Do not cut corners. If this is a job that's that important to you, do it yourself. If you're going to have somebody that's a professional resume writer, what you should do is get their resume, and then you rewrite their resume to be you. Okay? I'm not saying professionally written resumes are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying letting somebody else pretend they're you is bad. Why is it bad? Because if you get caught, you're not going to get the job because they're not going to trust you, they're not going to believe you. So if you really insist that your skills are not good enough to write your resume, you're going to have one of these resume services do it or somebody else do it. Take what they did and redo it to put in the words that you think accurately describe you. They're going to take what you say and they're going to try to use words that make you look better. But they don't really know you. They could completely miss some points. You might see in reading their professional resume, oh yeah, that reminds me of something about myself. They didn't include it because I didn't tell them. I remember this one time at work where the boss came down and I got a pat on the back because I did something. It's not in my current resume because I didn't tell him. I'm going to add it to my resume. Okay, so what we do, we try to break things down into their simplest parts. So about 10 years ago, MIT did a study of what are the most dangerous, difficult jobs in the world. Okay, what guess one?
Underwater welding.
Underwater welding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what else, Marty?
Those guys out there.
What? Wild drilling. Oh, oil drilling. Okay, Stephanie. Okay. Okay, Jesus. Mining. Okay, so like fishing in a boat. Okay, well, you're right about the boat. It's not fishing in a boat. Okay, so MIT did a study. They wanted to find out, MIT, very prestigious school, wanted to find out what is the most difficult job in the world. The most difficult job in the world is working on launching and landing planes on an aircraft carrier. It's difficult and really dangerous. Okay, and so they compared it to a regular airport. A regular airport, the airfield is twice as long. It's stable, it's flat, it doesn't move. An aircraft carrier is moving all directions. It's going this way, it's going this way, it's turning. You might have to land at night. They have to have this grappling hook on the plane and this cable. They have a catapult to launch it. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're going to die. But what made it the most difficult is the people who do that are young, like 18, 20, 22-year-old guys. And they train them to do the most difficult job in the world. Or part of the reason it's the most difficult job in the world is who's doing it. And these aren't guys who've been launching planes for 30 years. These are young guys out there launching and catching planes on aircraft carriers because they break it down into the smallest possible job. So you're not trying to do everything, you're trying to do one thing. And so that's the process we use for the interview, is we try to make it as simple as possible. Because if you try to remember everything, you're going to remember nothing. So the things to remember about our interview process are what? Did we do this last week, Phyllis? Everybody got a handout? Okay, so what is it? Okay, so what you need to focus on in your interview is 555. What's the first 5? Your greeting. What's the first 5? 5 what? 5 fingers?
No.
5 people? 5 flowers? What? 5 what? 5 seconds. Okay? Study after study after study after study proves we start forming opinions immediately in the first second. First 5 seconds, we have a lot of opinions about somebody. In fact, there's a study that says, like in the first, I don't remember, some number of seconds, people decide whether they like that political candidate or not. Before they even say anything. It's the very first 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds, people make up their decision of who they're going to vote for. So in the first 5 seconds, before you go into your interview, after you've done your 2 minutes of power posing in the restroom, so your what is up and your what is down. Your testosterone is up and your cortisol is down. Okay, so you're sharp, you're thinking, you're alert, but you're calm. So you've done that. Before you walk in, you've got to focus on, okay, I've got to make a good impression in the first 5 seconds. Now I have a 30-minute interview with this guy. I've got 5 seconds to get this person to like me. And at that point in time, you've got to be, well, you're getting them to like you. You're also assessing them. Are they in a good mood today? Do they like their job? What's going on in their office? Okay? In the first 5 seconds, you have to do that. So you should start practicing with yourself of get on the bus, or when you're on the bus tonight at work, say, okay, I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to look at somebody randomly for 5 seconds. Then I'm going to turn away, and I'm going to try to remember everything I can about that person. What they're wearing, are they happy? Do they look like they're tired? I'm going to try to remember everything I can. Get in the habit of doing that. So we've got the first 5 seconds. Then we have the first what? 50 seconds, right. The first 50 seconds. So there's too much going on here. The guy isn't going to make his decision about you in 5 seconds. He's going to form opinions about you in the first 55 seconds. But you've got the first 50 seconds to really start setting the direction of the interview. You need to know in 50 seconds, is this guy having a good day or a bad day? Because you don't treat the person the same way. I've said before, in sales, 100% of the time, you can sell somebody something if they need it and they have money, they can afford it, if you're able to do what? No. No. 100% of the time when you're selling something, if you're selling a product to somebody who needs it, I didn't say want it, who needs it, they might want it. No. Or, and they can afford it. 100% of the time you can sell something to somebody if those two conditions exist, if blank. If you can what? Write this down. No. No.
The rest of the minis.
No, no. If you can read their mind. Right? How could you say no? Okay, so what Mike said is true, but it's not 100% of the time. Because somebody might need it, but they don't like you. I'm going to get it from someone else. You sold me that I need it, but you know what? I didn't like how you did it. You were too rough. You were too soft. You know, whatever. But I'm saying 100% of the time, you could read their mind. Because what happens is you can read my mind, and you read my mind, and I'm saying, this guy's too hard on me. Exactly. See, if you can read my mind, you know exactly what to do. If a guy says, well, I can't really afford it. Yeah, you know you can't. Or he's thinking in his mind, well, I can't really afford this. You don't let him even say that. You might say, I know that you might think you can't afford this, but here's how you can. Like with this $4,000 water machine. I know you think you can't afford a $4,000 water machine, but how much money do you think you spend a day on drinks? What would you say, Blaine? How much do people spend on bottled water, coffee, whatever per day? Typical person. Okay, so that's $300 a month. For some people, that's almost a whole car, right? Okay. So could you afford to spend $100 if it's going to save you $200? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So if you could read somebody's mind 100% of the time, you will sell to them. When you're in an interview, what are you trying to sell? And how many people don't like selling? Nobody. Everybody here likes selling. Well, what happens when it comes to chow tutti? It's not hard. You're soft. You're weak. It's not hard. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway. Okay, that 50 seconds is you're trying to read that person's mind. Okay, what we spend time doing is trying to persuade other people, but we're not looking at what they're thinking. How can we tell what people are, can we actually read people's minds? No, we can't actually read their minds. But what can we do? Yeah, we observe their body language. The body language of people, especially when they're not guarded, usually absolutely reflects what's going on in their mind. If I'm talking to you and you're doing this, what do I know for absolutely certain? You're not listening to what I'm saying. Okay? If I'm talking and people are doing this, what do I know for absolute certainty? Yeah. You know, when people are sitting here typing, I don't know if you think I don't know. Okay? Okay? But what I get is I observe and I say, what is this person thinking when they're typing? And I say, well, I'm not really, I don't know what they're thinking, but I know what they're not thinking. And they're not tracking what I'm saying. And tomorrow when I say, who remembers this? Who remembers something about that? I know that they'll say something Stephanie said earlier. What? Right? Okay. So this 50 seconds is very important to be able to be reading their mind. So before you walk in the interview, now you have another thing that you have to say to yourself before I walk in. Okay, I got 5 seconds to make a very good first impression, and I got 50 seconds to be able to read this guy's mind. I got to know what's going on in that first 50 seconds. I have to behave accordingly. Then the last thing is what? 5 what? 5 minutes. Now, the decision won't be made, probably won't be made in that 5 minutes, but it's going to be heavily tilted towards yes or no, especially regarding do they like you. They will hire people they don't really like if they're qualified. Good people will, because they'll say, you know what, my personal bias is this. But this guy wants to go work in the kitchen. The chef might like a guy like that. Just because I don't like the guy doesn't mean he's not the right guy for the job. So people who are good are going to say, well, you know, my personal bias, I don't really like the guy, or I really do like the guy, but my personal bias is I always like people who like the Green Bay Packers. He likes the Green Bay Packers. How did the interviewer know that you like the Green Bay Packers? No, you're in the interviewer's office. How did the interviewer know that you like the Green Bay Packers?
Okay, cheesehead cat.
You knew it because you commented on the fact that he had something in his office about the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
And you just happened to like the Green Bay Packers. Okay? Or he had something in there for the Detroit Lions. And you said, I'm a Packers fan. Okay? Because you commented. And you said something because you're trying to what? Get them to like you, right? And even though you like the Packers, he likes Detroit, what do you have in common? Not just football, but you like to put football crap up in your office.
Right.
Okay, anybody, if you go into some, just a little hint, we'll close on this, a little hint. You go into somebody's office and they have something out there for a sports team, comment on it. Because somebody who goes to the lengths to put something about a sports team up in their office really cares. If people don't put stuff in their office really about things they don't care about. They don't go to Walmart and say, I got to get some pictures for my wall. I'm just going to pick something I don't care about. You know, they pick something they like. And if somebody has something on sports teams, you should comment on it. Unless you don't know anything about sports. I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, I see you're a Detroit Lions fan. Well, I don't really like sports. That doesn't get you anywhere. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue on this with the interview. What my expectation is, everybody will remember this tomorrow. Because if you walk into the interview and you don't remember this, you're doing what a lot of people do, which is you walk in with the gun at your head. And you might get lucky and not pull the trigger, but you probably will. Why do that if you don't have to? Dennis, is there anything in California I can answer? Anybody have any questions? Any quick questions?
And also we have 3 new students. Maybe we can introduce them tomorrow if you have time.
Yes. Do we have somebody from Garden Grove?
Garden Grove?
The Garden Grove One Stop?
Who is that? Yes.
Good.
Oh, yeah, he's filling out this paperwork right now.
Okay, great. Well, I'm anxious to meet him tomorrow.
Okay. So then we also have 3 other students as well.
Okay, good. We're going to have him join our class, our online class in the afternoons, a couple days a week, Dennis.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Well, good to see you again.
Well, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll meet our 3 new people.
Okay. All right, Ed.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. All right, bye.